The Ticats held their first day of off-season workouts on Monday. I'm here with the Spec Steve Milton. Steve, all eyes on new quarterback Zach Collaros on the first day. What did you think of his performance?
I thought he was fine. It's hard to judge any more than that because you can't see. There wasn't any coverage and any of that stuff. But I thought I think he did what Ken Austin was most looking for him to do. He took command. And you have to do that. I don't think that was ever going to be an issue. We saw that even stepping in for Ricky Ray last year in Toronto. This was a guy who takes command. But again, you saw that today. He may not feel 100% comfortable in making this his team at the moment, but I think Ken Austin's looking for that. I think he's looking for him to make this his team by the end of this week.
A lot of veteran players not here. Andy Fantuz isn't here. Brian Bulkey's not here. CJ Gable is not here. I think they're really trying to get a look at some of the younger players, some of the guys they're bringing in to get a sense of whether they can contribute at this level.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I I found it really interesting there's no punter here because returner is a huge, huge part of that, given the issues that there were. They didn't break enough last year. They were close a few times, and they really, sometimes didn't have the field position. There's a number of guys going for what I call a small receiver position, and that would be the short, little, fast guy who can also punt / kickoff return. Yes, we see that, and obviously at receiver, they're looking at a lot of different guys, and Bakari Grant referred to that in a private conversation with you. I think they're the 5 to make 4 in the quarterback. So who's the odd person out in the quarterback, and who's the third person? To me, if I was handicapping this at the start, Tettleton becomes your sort of future guy, merely because he's the youngest. And the other guys have all had sort of one of those shots. So it really comes down to we know that Collaros is going to be here. We know that Lefevre is going to be here. It really is which 2 of the other 3, assuming they don't bring anybody else in for main camp, are going to be here.
On defense, I think the interesting storyline today was looking at where Craig Butler, the new free agent signing, lined up. He was mostly at safety. We saw Courtney Stephen, who played much of the year at safety last year at the field side corner. It looks as though the Ticats, at least early on, are thinking about playing 2 Canadians in the secondary.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I would say, Drew, in your time, is this 5th year for you on the team?
This would be 6.
6th year on the team. This is by far the closest to having a set defensive backfield. Forget the 6 years. This goes back 10, 12, 14 years. This is the closest that I've seen to a set backfield defensively since then, probably since they had the great teams in 2000 to 1999, those years. Those 2 are part of it. And then they had so many guys have experience last year. They really know who can play in there. If you got your Rico Murrays and all of those type of people, whether it's Bro or whoever, I think they're pretty well down to 8 or 9 to make your starting 5, and I think they know pretty well who that starting 5 is, and I think they know who their top 6 is at this moment. Those 2 Canadians really, really, really help that because those 2 are going to take those 2 jobs. That means there are only 3 other positions, so you're not going to have quite as much revolving door as they had, even if a whole bunch of guys get hurt. As long as they're not the 2 Canadians, you're not going to have the revolving door that you had. Plus, you know who can play and who can't. You spent a whole year figuring that out.
Make sure you check out Tuesday Spectator for Steve's column, as well as all of the news from Ticat Minicamp. Reporting for the Hamilton Spectator with Steve Milton, I'm Drew Edwards.